Why you should vote Democrat. In the 2022 midterm elections, there's a lot of issues facing the nation. If you like watching the victorious winners of the 2020 presidential election arresting and imprisoning the losers of the 2020 presidential election, then you should vote Democrat. If you enjoy seeing Asians and defenseless women beaten and kicked unconscious in Democrat-run cities, then go ahead and vote Democrat. You know, the Democratic Party actually came up with an Asian hate crimes PSA warning about groups or people who like to beat up Asians. But you know what? When they come up with these PSAs, they assume it's going to be white MAGA hat wearing Trump supporters that are doing the violence. And in fact, 100% of the attacks on Asians are by Democrats in Democrat-run cities and Democrat-run police departments. So I guess all these, whenever I see an Asian hate crime PSA, I'm like, dudes, who do you think is actually attacking Asians? If you think that MAGA hat wearers are the threat to Asians, then vote Democrat. If you think Joe Biden's team of foreign policy experts are doing a great job starting a war with Russia over Ukraine, then go ahead and vote Democrat. These are the same knuckleheads who made excuses when Joe Biden failed to sign the Supportive Forces Act to keep American troops in Iraq, which directly led to the creation of the Islamic State, which terrorized and murdered thousands and thousands of people. Anthony Blinken, our current Secretary of State, was President Obama's Deputy Secretary of State when Joe Biden was handed this assignment. And this same team of incompetents oversaw the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan last summer. Now this team is going to save us from Russia. If you think they have a great track record, go ahead and vote Democrat. If you were a doctor, nurse, or other healthcare worker who was fired from your hospital because you refused Joe Biden's illegal vaccine mandates, if you're happy with that sort of dictatorial, totalitarian rule from the victorious Democratic Party, then they deserve your vote again in 2022. Firing doctors and nurses is precisely what Joe Biden claimed he was against as a candidate. But once you give these Democrats a little bit of power, they fired doctors and nurses left and right. Control by the Democratic Party is more important than your personal health and your personal freedoms. Look at this independent fact check if you happen to do a search on Biden gas lines. No evidence that Biden canceling an oil pipeline caused higher U.S. gas prices. You never saw these other outfits on social media working hard to protect Donald Trump like this. Why is there a different policy with Trump's successor? You'd almost think the corporate elites ensure Joe Biden's election and want to keep him and his party in power. But we know that's not true. So if you like to see mega corporations doing independent fact checks, which always seem to support the Democratic Party, then go ahead and vote Democrat because your corporate masters know best. The mayor of El Paso, Texas, begged for help from their fellow Democrat in the White House, Joe Biden, because the endless flood of illegal immigrants that Joe Biden's administration has encouraged through select enforcement of our southern border has flooded communities with illegal immigrants. These people can't change their clothes, there's nowhere for them to use the toilet. Women and children are affected by the heartlessness of Joe Biden's policies. Kamala Harris said she was studying the root causes of illegal immigration. Out of a world population of 7 billion people, there's about 6 billion people worldwide whose standard of living would improve if they moved to the United States, Vice President Harris. So if you want to study the root causes and say, well, anyone who's poor can come to America, why not just relocate the entire world population into our country? That would make everybody rich, right? Economics don't work that way, VP Harris. But if you think Vice President Harris is doing a great job identifying the root causes of illegal immigration, you need to vote Democrat this election and every other election. If you think that the Democratic Party is doing a great job running our nation's institutions while investigating their predecessors in the Trump administration, then you need to keep voting Democrat. It's not like they have anything else to actually work on in Washington, like inflation, gas lines at the pump, illegal immigration, surging prices at your supermarket, or nuclear Armageddon promised by Joe Biden for his foolish war with Russia. None of those things matter. All that matters is punishing anyone who dared volunteer to work for Donald Trump. And if you think that's great leadership by the Democratic Party, they deserve your vote this November and every election thereafter. Thank you.